Good evening and welcome to the fastest half hour in the cryptid world, This Week in Bigfoot, the news show that scours the internet and the Bigfoot community each and every week to bring you the people, places, and stories making headlines around the Bigfoot world. Then we take it and wrap it up in a nice, neat 30-minute package. If it has to do with Sasquatch, Bigfoot, or the Wildman, trust me, we've got you covered. This week, it's all about the body. You know we need one, and we'll break down exactly why that's the case. The Professor Mike Luci explains why we know nothing when it comes to our fossil record. Snowwalker Prime wraps up Expedition Bigfoot's 4th season in a brand new 2 minutes with, and I jump on the phone with the one and only Daniel Perez to cast my vote for the Bigfoot of the year. These stories and more news than you probably really need, but heck, we're not your parents, so you better buckle up, settle in, and smash that subscribe button. Oh, and try to keep up, because like I say, we move fast around here. You ready? Because the clock's ticking. Let's go.
911, what are you reporting?
He's walking upright like a man.
With someone or something crawling around out here.
But he went back up the mountain.
Get somebody out there.
What's going on now, sir?
That son of a bitch is about 6'9", I don't know. He's all black and big. He is big.
Ever since I became part of the Bigfoot community 4 short years ago, and decided to launch the Catskill Appalachian Research Collective, you know, the CARC and CARC Universal, I've heard countless arguments and bickering regarding kill or no kill, body or no body, when it comes to proving Bigfoot's existence. And as much as it pains me to go down this road one more time, we need a body. I'm sorry, but we don't have a body, and that's how science works. Now, I've spoken with my share of biologists on this subject, and as you know, biologists study animals, right? Biology 101. Animals that have already been discovered, and new animals that are constantly being discovered every day around the world. So I'm going to walk you through this one more time. Pardon me if you heard this before, I apologize. You and I, we all know that snow leopards are real. We'll use them for an example, and none of us question the fact that snow leopards are real. Let's just say, for argument's sake, that we've only seen illustrations of a snow leopard. So neither one of us have ever seen or personally experienced a snow leopard in the wild. Now, we've only seen just drawings, but yet we still know the snow leopard is real. Well, how did this happen? Well, what happens with every single animal is when a new animal is discovered, like snow leopards were back in the 1700s, is someone somewhere, like George Louis Leclerc in 1777, the man who discovered the snow leopard in eastern China, either hunts or traps that animal. Then they carefully preserve the skin, the organs, and the bones. Then they write a paper about where they found it, what it looks like, its measurements, etc., etc. Then they publish that paper. Now here's the important part to remember, and this is the thing I'm getting back to about the Bigfoot thing, is now that body is kept preserved in a museum. Now, I'm not talking about a museum where school children go on field trips to look at things like dinosaurs and talk to park rangers. I'm talking about a university or a research museum. And if you ever go to that university or that research museum or possibly a research institution, they have these huge rooms full of locking drawers and metal cabinets that are all carefully maintained. And inside, if you ever get to open one of these drawers, you could pull out the original snow leopard. I think the original specimen here is somewhere in Russia. And that's the original snow leopard that was originally discovered back in the day. So the reason no one ever questions whether snow leopards are real is because we know where the body is. And you could go to that museum if you had a passport and a Russian visa, and you could look at that snow leopard body and know that it's real. Anybody can go look at it, and that's exactly what we've done with every single animal, vegetable, insect, bird, whatever you want to call it that exists. And that specimen is called a type specimen. Okay, so in order to prove that Bigfoot is real, we need a body, and we haven't been able to get a body. So now, unfortunately, there are some out there that have become way too attached to the legend, to the mystery, and to the allure of this mysterious creature, and God bless each and every one of you. But the reality is this really what's best for the long-term future of the creature called Bigfoot? If, of course, we're talking about a flesh and blood creature now. The world is currently on its way to the toilet. We can all admit that. Constant deforestation, urban sprawl, population growth are knocking out animal species around the globe at an alarming rate. By requiring a type specimen here, the scientific community ensures that the Bigfoot species, if it does indeed exist, would be accurately described and properly classified. contributing to the advancement of our knowledge about the natural world and, let's face it, our ancestors. This practice, like it or not, helps maintain the integrity and reliability of the scientific research. So, while researcher admiration and believer lust for the creature is admirable, in the end, it really isn't going to do the creature any good. It's kind of like the same reason you should never take and keep a wild animal as a pet. Stay with me here. You may love that animal, want to take care of that animal, think that animal needs you, gets along with your pets, is now part of the family, but in all actualities, in order for that animal to live a long, fulfilling life, they honestly need to be amongst their own out in the wild. So what I'm saying here, what's good for the creature may not necessarily fit your own personal agenda. Get it? Now, you may not agree with what I've just told you, and that's all right. I will try not to lose any sleep over it. And if I did upset you anyways, take a deep breath and try to put your emotions on hold and think long-term survival and conservation in today's world for the creature that we've all come to know and love over the last 35 weeks here on This Week in Bigfoot. And that's Bigfoot.
Skeptics like using the fossil record as a big argument against Bigfoot's existence, and while this certainly is a valid point to make, I don't think many people are aware that the fossil record is very, very incomplete. In fact, some scientists estimate less than 1% of all plant and animal species that ever existed have been found through the fossil record. There's a number of reasons why this is the case. Firstly, it requires a specific set of rare conditions to even make a fossil. For that process to even begin, sediment has to cover something organic, and most organisms usually want to be decomposing before that opportunity even rolls around. So in essence, there are several important animal species and groups who probably never even left fossils that we may never even know existed. The odds of fossilization increase if an organism had an abundant population or lived around sedimentary rocks. Ancient marine arthropods like trilobites, for example, satisfy both these requirements, hence why their fossils are so common. Something like a Tyrannosaurus rex, though, is obviously much rarer, as it was a large land-dwelling apex predator whose population was much smaller. Now, even if something does get fossilized, they're still not in the clear. The rocks they're encased in are still susceptible to erosion, melting, and fragmentation. Moreover, some fossils probably exist, but are fated to never be discovered by humans, like ones that may be buried under hundreds of feet of ice in places like Antarctica, or some that are buried deep under the ocean floor. All things considered, though, each fossil discovered represents a snapshot of life's evolutionary timeline. So while it's largely believed the fossil record is incomplete, context is important when describing that. Some say this because the fossil record just won't identify every single known species to have existed. But from a structural standpoint, a lot of scientists more or less consider the fossil record to be complete enough, as it illustrates the broad outline of life's 3.5 billion year history on Earth. Even when we look at the evolution of hominids or primates, there's still a number of holes and loose ends that make some important aspects of our ancestral origins unclear. This, in theory, still leaves something like a Bigfoot to potentially have a spot in our evolutionary family tree, whose roots we've still yet to fully figure out, or may never even uncover because they've been lost forever in history.
This Week in Bigfoot recently caught up with our good pal and Bigfoot Times publisher Daniel Perez to see how the year treated the well-known researcher and to get the inside scoop on exactly who's in the running for Bigfoot Times Bigfoot of the Year for 2023. Daniel Perez, my good friend, it's been a while since we last talked to you. We were on This Week in Bigfoot a couple months ago, and I thank you for that. Before we get started with the whole end of the year stuff, I want to see how 2023 treated my good friend Daniel Perez. You were quite busy with a couple of conferences.
Yes, in fact, it was just a busy year altogether, and we've got 2 months left. I was in Missouri in September for a conference, which was wonderful, and it was part conference, part camp out. There was about 25 people in the camp out, and on the last day when everyone was going to leave, in the early hours of the morning at around 3:15, there was a sighting by a lady by the name of Brandy Butcher, who was from Missouri, and very compelling in the sense that there was evidence left behind because there was tall grass that was trampled down, and it had just rained, so you could see where the subject had walked. It seemed like it walked around the perimeter of the entire campground. So that was very interesting. It was the first time, probably the closest I've ever been to a Sasquatch.
Now that we've talked about the end winding down, there's a very big event coming up very soon, and that's Bigfoot Times Bigfooter of the Year, folks, which is a big deal if you're in the community and you respect a lot of people that work as hard as they do. Daniel, can you tell us about your process with deciding who is the Bigfooter of the Year?
Well, it's not complicated. It's basically who's been stepping on the gas pedal the hardest and the longest for the year, and originality of the work, and whether it's a real contribution to Bigfooting. So that's basically, I mean, there could be some other things, but these are the things I think about, is that really, when it gets down to it, a lot of what I focus on is originality of the work. And I could look over the past quarter century, 25 years of producing and editing the Bigfoot Times, and I'm saying, well, what was it about each person that brought them to the top at the end of the year, at least in my opinion? And so we look back, and I look back at, say, Bill Munn's 2009, and it was his groundbreaking work on the Patterson-Gimlin film, like no one had done before. And I said, well, it's obvious, he's the guy. Matt Crowley, I think in 2006, he gave a presentation in Washington State in which he's proposed a different hypothesis or a different idea about dermal ridges found on Bigfoot casting footprints. And right then and there, I knew that this guy was going to be the Bigfooter of the Year later in the year. And so this year, there's some people floating in my head. And in fact, I put it on Facebook as to who might be the person of interest. And I will mention some names that have come to mind. If I'm saying his name correctly, correct me if I'm wrong. Andrew Petikoff.
It's actually Alex Petikoff. He is actually a very good friend of ours, and he is a Small Town Monsters contributor and an excellent filmmaker.
And so I've been watching what he's doing, and you know, as most of the readers or the listeners know, I work full time, so I've got to work myself. So there's a limited amount of time during the day to do everything. But I kept my eye on him, and then a fellow in Canada by the name of Todd Prescott, who's been posting all these classic historical videos on Bigfoot on YouTube, and he's got his own channel. I forget what it's called.
Prescott is the Sasquatch Archives guy, which does brilliant work with finding those old, dirty 16 millimeter, whatever they are, home VHS stuff, and puts it online. And we actually use it all the time for This Week in Bigfoot. So yes, they are monsters in the industry as far as getting the word out there and doing stuff. So that's 2 out of the park already.
Right. And so that's all I'm going to mention. All I can say is that we haven't decided yet, but by December, in the wee hours, Christmas Day, actually on Facebook, we will post a short video that will announce who the winner is, and we'll post the front page of the Bigfoot Times so we can all see it, and we'll see who it is. And that's about all I can say for now, because as it's a surprise for everyone. And again, it represents my opinion on the matter as to who I think was doing a really fantastic job for the year. And it's my way, or the Bigfoot Times way, of celebrating some really good work.
Now, I subscribe to Bigfoot Times, and I have for a very long time. I cannot recommend it enough. It is honestly the best value you will ever see as far as Bigfoot news in print. For more information and to get your subscription just in time for the holidays, be sure to visit bigfoottimes.net. A 1-year, 12-month subscription is only $21.75, postage included, and that's for anybody in the United States. Outside, for the rest of the world, it's $24.75. Be sure to visit bigfoottimes.net.
Tonight's episode is sponsored by Larynx.
So check out this photo I stumbled across. I didn't think much of it first until I looked into its backstory. It was reportedly published on social media fairly recently. After conducting a few reverse image searches, I couldn't find any earlier postings or appearances of it, but did find a recently published YouTube video on the Unexplained Mysteries channel, which brought some alleged details of this photo to light. It was allegedly taken in Northern California about 1 year after the Patterson-Gimlin film was shot by a nature photographer named Thomas Anderson. My first thought was, wow, my very first MySpace friend has been holding out on us all these years. But in all seriousness, the video says Mr. Anderson became captivated by Bigfoot and set out on his own to capture a photo of the legendary creature. He supposedly traversed the North California wilderness, starting in Bluff Creek, and had his alleged encounter weeks into his expedition. This clip from the Unexplained Mysteries video describes Mr. Anderson's reported run-in. Let's give it a watch.
Guided by the hope that he was getting closer to his elusive quarry. As he navigated through the dense undergrowth, he spotted something unusual out of the corner of his eye. A massive, shadowy figure stood partially obscured behind a thick cluster of trees. His heart skipped a beat, and he raised his camera, praying that he wouldn't miss this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Through the lens of his camera, Thomas could hardly believe his eyes. The creature before him was immense, covered in long, dark hair, and standing upright on two massive legs. It was a Bigfoot, without a doubt, and the creature gazed at him with an air of both curiosity and caution, its dark eyes seeming to hold untold mysteries. He fired off shot after shot, capturing the creature's majestic presence against the backdrop of the towering forest, and he said that it moved with a fluid grace, each step powerful yet surprisingly silent. But as quickly as it had appeared, the creature slowly retreated into the forest, disappearing into the dense foliage.
Mr. Anderson claims he's been trying to show these photos for years, but nobody wanted to share or publish them. And there's quite a few people who find that hard to believe. It's worth noting I did try to verify Mr. Anderson's identity, but as you might expect, our old MySpace friend dominates any search results with that name. At face value, the photo, it does look good, like really good. And while I tried running it through a few types of AI detection software, as you can see here, these results, I pretty much got the same ones when I did the same thing with known AI Bigfoot images. So unfortunately, I don't think we could rule out this photo being AI generated at this time. Although we can't really accurately gauge the figure's height, one of its most prominent details are how long its arms are, which, as the video points out, seem to reach its knees. So that's what we've got in this video so far. As always, I'll keep you posted on any new developments. As of now, nothing's really off the table with this one, and there's plenty of unanswered questions on this photo between its backstory and the identity of Thomas Anderson. So until anything new pops up, you'll have to decide for yourself if this photo is fact or hoaxed.
All right, folks, check your watches. We are officially halfway through episode 34, which can only mean one thing. It's the part of the show where we give to content creator Michael Merchant, aka Snowwalker Prime, screen time to speak his mind and get what's ever bothering him off his chest. Now, it's no secret that Snowwalker isn't exactly the world's biggest Expedition Bigfoot fan, and so trust me when I say you're going to find out exactly what he thinks of Season 4 and its recent finale. This is 2 Minutes With.
Echo Station 3PA. Spotted Imperial Walker. Imperial Walker. Echo Station 3PA. We have spotted Imperial Walker. Imperial Walker.
They've got some pretty sophisticated high-tech hardware, drone, laser mapping, mine-exploring robots.
Robot? Ah, now you get my attention.
Yeah, they had to send a robot dog into this mine because of the poisonous vapors. And it was a confirmed Bigfoot lair. This is right out of Season 1 with the Cinnabar mine that was actually a harmless gold mine tourist attraction. I know, they made out like you would die if you went in there. They lied about the entire thing. I know, but this is a different mine.
If a robotic dog tells me that it's safe for me to go inside, I'm hoping I'm going to find answers inside this mine.
This is exactly the same narration. This is not a Cinnabar mine, but it has poisonous vapors, and they're sending a robot in. It's such a cool robot, too.
That's incredible.
What I want to know is who's filming the robot? That's a really good question.
All right, Bob, you're the cameraman. You gotta go in and film the robot.
But I don't want to film the robot. It's
Poisonous vapors in there. No, Bob, we just made that up for the audiences. There's no poisonous vapors. But there's a Bigfoot in there. I don't want to go into the mine. Secret, I've got a secret.
There's no Bigfoot, Bob. We made that up too.
But you guys sound so convincing. That's the whole point of TV. It's called acting. Bryce is an actor. I still don't want to go into the mine. Bob, get your ass into the mine, put your big boy pants on, and film the robot, for God's sakes. I'm trying to run a TV show here. I don't think it went quite like that. It's probably exactly how it went. No, I'm sure Bob the cameraman was happy to go into the mine and film the robot. They're on season 4, and they're already recycling the same stunt they pulled in season 1. What do you mean by stunt? The mine. Going into the mine. They went into the toxics nearby with poisonous vapors.
Well, I think we all know what we need to do next, right?
Yep.
I want to see what's in this cave.
So do I.
So diddly. They had to send in a special drone. Remember the drone? Little tank thing they sent in?
This thing has technology designed for spacecraft.
Oh, that found the Bigfoot nest. It didn't find a nest. That was a porcupine nest or some other rodent. Aha! You admit it's a nest. Yeah, it could have been a nest. I mean, aha! I don't get your aha. I knew secretly you believed in Bigfoot. That's not what that means. I think that's what you said. That is not what I said. I'm pretty sure, it might have not been the words that you used, but that was the intent. No, I assure you that was not the intent. Agree to disagree.
It's sensing the oxygen levels as it moves forward. On the front of it, it has this LiDAR mapping. It will actually see everything in front of it.
As I was saying, they've copied the same narrative. Now they're in another mine. But assuming that Bigfoot loves to be in mines, I've never heard of Bigfoot being in a mine. And I suppose you're a Bigfoot expert. I never said I was an expert. I just said I never heard of one being in a mine. I think it's very common. They like to ride trains, too. Trains. Yeah, they've been reported hopping on trains, running beside trains, hanging underneath the trains. They just love trains. I don't even know how we got derailed into the subject. As I was saying, they used the mine stunt twice.
Or there's something deeper, more menacing happening. Something's obviously messing with the electronics around here.
I think you forgot about the cave in Kentucky. Well, technically that's not a mine, but that would be 3 times. Except then they rappelled down in. They didn't have to use a robot. Hakuna Matata. Hakuna Matata.
I'm Kilroy! 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 Kilroy!
Wild Bigfoot by Larix, the official hat of This Week in Bigfoot, sponsored by Larix.
It's time once again for the Bigfoot Rundown. Rundown.
So I found these posted in one of the Bigfoot Believers Facebook groups. What I like about these pictures is they show a full trackway that the poster claims he discovered while scouting for deer hunting locations. Although there's no information on measurements of the strides or print lengths, the photographer did put his foot alongside some of them for comparison. And yes, some of the individual impressions are notably longer than his foot and appear embedded pretty deep in the ground. Although some of the details in these prints are pretty scant, at least 1 or 2 of them seem to feature what could be toe-like appendages. I did some poking around on the original poster, who could potentially live in or near a town called Kennett, Missouri, located in Dunkirk County. Comments were split on whether or not these were the real deal, and as always, we'd love to hear your thoughts.
This video has been making the rounds as of late on all sorts of social media, from TikTok to Thinker Thunker, and with over 87,000 likes and close to 1,900 comments, it's definitely raised some eyebrows.
What the heck is that? What the absolute heck is that? Starting to regret that I stopped at this rest stop. And they say Bigfoot isn't real? stick my arm out the window.
One commenter, CashMount48, stated that he was also there at that rest stop that night driving for Swift Trucking, and indeed confirmed that those howls did take place and were loud enough to keep him up all night. Now, I drove truck for a while and I can tell you that the sleepers in those cabs are pretty airtight, at least pretty quiet. And they usually have a refrigerator and an air conditioner that are powered by a generator, so you have the hum of the generator. So if CashMount48 is telling the truth, those howls were pretty damn loud. Now, Figure Thunker, surprise, surprise, is convinced that those howls are from something not of nature, aka Bigfoot. But more importantly, what do you think? Let us know as usual in the comment section.
Starting to regret that I stopped at this rest stop.
Here's a video I found in another Bigfoot Believers Facebook group. It was posted earlier this month, but comes from a TikTok account titled aliens_n_cryptids, which features dozens of alleged cryptid and alien videos. The TikTok account posted this one back on June 19th. However, I feel like I've seen it somewhere much earlier than June. So if anyone can help me out, drop any info you have in the comments. It was reportedly taken in Bartlett, New Hampshire, which is located in Carroll County. The woman who allegedly captured this footage claims she noticed the creature while walking her dog. The Aliens and Cryptids account appeared skeptical of the video, citing how the supposed Bigfoot seems to have a human-like look. It also clarified the woman chose to remain anonymous, but noted how this part of New Hampshire contains capable habitat for supporting something like a Bigfoot.
Season 4 of Expedition Bigfoot is now in the rearview mirror, with the season finale airing on November 1st. It ended with the team spotting what they think were several Bigfoot, 2 by use of a drone, and 1 by Russ and Myra over a ridgeline.
I definitely don't think we should give up on this place.
Right. What is that? What is that? Look up there. Look at some ridge. Oh, yeah, right. Oh, right here. You see it?
Now, what was different about the season 4 finale compared to earlier seasons, according to the Bigfoot subreddit, is there was absolutely no hint of an upcoming season 5. There was also no wrap-up episode where the team sits down to review the season's evidence. Now, that's not to say that that episode won't pop up closer to the holidays, so if you follow the show, keep an eye out for it. And according to a post by Myra on the Expedition Bigfoot official fan Facebook page, there is currently no confirmation of a season 5, so make of that what you will. The season 4 finale of Expedition Bigfoot is airing now on Discovery Plus.
Circling back to TikTok, one bow hunter with the account name foul_mitten_outdoors recorded these alleged howls while sitting in his stand. Let's take a listen.
Anyway, I want you to hear this. I'm going to turn the camera around so you can hear a little better. Just a minute. Like I said, I'm quite a long ways away from the gifting rock. So why are we hearing that out here? A mile away. I'm gonna try to ask the farmer that owns this property if he's ever heard this.
Based on the comments, it looks like this may have taken place somewhere in Appalachia. At the very beginning, the hunter does mention he's about a mile away from his gifting rock, indicating he's probably no stranger to the Bigfoot phenomenon. In addition to having several hunting and fishing videos on TikTok, this account also features several cryptid and other paranormal related content. That's also the case for its YouTube channel called Foul Mitten. Not 100% sure, but I think there's a chance at least one of his videos may have appeared on one of our previous episodes. I gotta look into that a little more. So what do you think made these howls? Bigfoot, another animal, or is it just BS? If you know or have any ideas, we'd love to hear them.
In a recent post on the Cryptid University Facebook page, a video has surfaced of what claims to be a police officer on a trail camera returning to his squad car after discovering human remains. But what the officer doesn't know is that someone or something is following him out of the forest. Now, this video is quite suspect for the lack of any backstory or metadata from the so-called trail camera, but the sheer size of the creature compared to the officer has garnered several comments and a lot of questions. So take another look at it, and as always, let us know what you think in the comment section. Rundown. It's time once again for Chuck Larson and this week's Bigfoot podcast and live stream top 5.
Well, starting at number 5, Agents of the Unknown, Phil Wrigley talks to Ryan Tremblay about what he thinks a rake actually is. Check it out.
I think it's the same thing that people are seeing called the pale crawlers. If you look back, there's the Dover Demon. That's a very famous pale humanoid. Other people are seeing these pale crawlers all over the place, and I think they're all interconnected in some way. And I think what people are seeing are these pale humanoids, these pale crawlers, and they're just calling it the rake because that's what people are familiar with due to the creepypastas.
Right. Oh, okay. That makes sense, too.
Number 4, Nance of the Buckeye Bigfoot narrates the story of a shaman woman who knows how to make a Sasquatch leave her goats and sheep alone. Take a listen.
So she held a ceremony where she consulted with her spirit guides regarding the loss of livestock. The answer that came back was raiding Sasquatch. Next, she conducted a drumming ceremony where she called upon the Sasquatch, addressing them as part of her relations. To the Sioux, the animal kingdom is part of its relations. She explained the role of her livestock as an important part of her livelihood, and that she would be forced by them to protect it from predation. She warned that she would gather warriors to hunt the forest people and kill them, so they had to leave her livestock alone or move away to hunt somewhere else.
At number 3, Blackburn's Monstro Bizarro, episode 13, Lyle breaks down the history and timeline of the skunk ape. Take a listen.
Ape sightings include the Everglades, along with the Ocala National Forest, Green Swamp, Tate's Hell Swamp, and the Myakka River Basin. The Myakka River in Sarasota County has become an important location in skunk ape history, in that it's associated with the most famous alleged photo of a skunk ape. Prior to the photo, which I will discuss shortly, Myakka was already on the skunk ape radar, with incidents being reported as far back as 1975.
Sticking with the skunk ape, at number 2, the caffeinated cryptid, Bobby Dizzle, talks with Al Santaringa about his first skunk ape encounter.
That we say that, we hear this blood-curdling scream. A scream like you've never heard before in your life. Scared my sister to death. She grabbed both dogs and ran in the house. My brother-in-law said, jump in the car, let's go see what's going on. My cousin Anthony grabbed shotgun. I'm in the back. My brother-in-law opens up the moonroof. I'm hanging out of the moonroof. And as we're starting to pull out of the driveway, we see like a double-barrel shotgun blast go off. Boom. So like, okay, we got to head that way, right? That's where the action is. So we get to the end of our road, and we're just about to make a right to head towards the cattle rancher's farm. And the deputy pulls out in front of us, and he's going like 2 miles an hour.
And at number 1 this week is Michigan Bigfoot Rob. On this episode, Rob tells the story about a shaman removing a werewolf/dogman entity from a home in Illinois.
Joe immediately grabbed a pouch from his pocket and asked for a small broom to remove the contents from the floor. Joe then spoke. "You have to trust me, and I need to perform a ritual to remove what dwells inside, and it must be performed inside the house." I am speechless as my wife and I granted Joe's permission.
All right, folks, looks like we are once again all out of time for this week's episode. It sure does fly when you're having fun. I'd like to thank you for watching and remind you to like and share everything we do here at the Catskill Appalachian Research Collective. Tell your friends. It's important to the success of the channel and to the success of This Week in Bigfoot. And if you've got any questions or maybe a comment or maybe a story for the show, you can always drop us a line at thisweekinbigfootnewscast@gmail.com. So, until next week, for Mike Luci, Chuck Larson, and Snowwalker Prime, I'm Brendon Brown, reminding you that when it comes to getting your Bigfoot news, be informed, not biased. Take care. See you next week.